The thing about Escape to Witch Mountain is that it's one of those Disney films that is full of fantasy, kids with supernatural powers. They get to jet around in a flying saucer, kind of everybody's fantasy. And the neat thing about the film is it's really all about the visual effects. Visual effects can take you to places you've never been before. They can take you to places that only people can imagine. It can change things. It's all an illusion, and this illusionary part of film is what's so kind of neat and exciting. Disney Studios had a reputation for doing basically effects films. We don't quite think of it that way, but things like Mary Poppins certainly is a great example. Darby O'Gill and the Little People. These are heavy effects films that even today would be very difficult to accomplish. But this was part of the philosophy of Walt Disney, to do something that wasn't like other films being made at the time or before, to do something bigger and better.
The legacy of Disney visual effects goes all the way back to the first picture that was shot on the lot here that really contained a lot of visual effects was 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
There she blows.
Bob Iwerks, who was one of the men who first worked with Walt Disney, actually became interested and developed a lot of the processes and the equipment that was used for visual effects at the studio in the 40s and 50s.
It was UB that kind of created the process lab with all the various black and white processes he did. It kind of got a nickname called the Process Lab.
It also did other things, including opticals, and you have to do an optical when you do such things as main titles, when you put on the people's names at the beginning of a film.
And hence, and hence.
The optical printer is a device that's used to rephotograph film while adding something or subtracting something to the original image.
"'Tis a sweet spot for a young lad ashore.
In the late 40s, Walt Disney decided to begin to shoot live-action pieces. He'd done animation up until that point and wanted to do live-action. And he went to England. First film that he did was Treasure Island. And to set the film on an island and to add sailing ships, he asked my father, Peter Ellenshaw, who had worked in visual effects in the British film industry for a number of years, to do some matte paintings. Matte paintings basically extended sets and were painted usually on glass and oil paint and made to look photorealistic. And by using matte paintings, Disney was able to shoot films on sound stages in England, but make them look like they were shot on distant locations. They did this for a film called Rob Roy, The Highland Rogue, Robin Hood, and Sword and the Rose.
This is from a film that was done in about 1993 called Wild Hearts Can't Be Broken, and it features the Atlantic City Steel Pier. This pier used to exist back in the 1920s and 30s, but no longer exists today. The filmmakers obviously need to establish this big location as it's a big story point in the film. In order to do this, it's painted on glass. This is not painted for your eye, but painted for the camera's eye, which eventually, when it goes to the big screen, should fool every member of the audience into believing this is a real shot of the Atlantic City Steel Pier.
In the 60s, Walt was even more ambitious when he came to do Mary Poppins, a film that obviously required a great deal of visual effects. There was, of course, the combination of live action with animation once again. The film won several Academy Awards, and one of them included an Academy Award for Best Achievement in Visual Effects. So it was quite a remarkable film. It also utilized a very unique system of placing the people over backgrounds. It's a technique that is called traveling matte photography, and it was very important in the use of Mary Poppins because you see things like Dick Van Dyke dancing with penguins. Well, he had to be shot against a sodium background to get him stuck in with those penguins and not look like he was stuck in with penguins. Absent-Minded Professor, it's interesting it was shot in black and white, and perhaps one of the reasons was it's a little bit easier to do some visual effects in black and white than it is in color.
No!
The Shaggy Dog shot that as well, as I recall, in black and white, and had a number of visual effects in those as well.
No.
Two sisters who should be setting a good example.
We're not sisters.
The studio also shot The Parent Trap, which was certainly heavy involvement with visual effects there. Walt wanted Haley Mills and knew that Haley Mills was an excellent choice to play both parts in The Parent Trap, so there's a lot of visual effects in that film. When you want to have the same actor or actress portray two parts, and you basically want to kind of clone them and put them side by side, what you do is you photograph the left side, then take the same actor and actress, put them on the right side and photograph them on the right side, and then on an optical printer, you basically black out one side, run the film, rewind the film, black out the other side, run it, and just kind of paste it on the other side.
It's amazing.
Through the late 60s and after Walt's death, the studio continued to do visual effects films, and Love Bug was one, and then in 70 they did Bedknobs and Broomsticks, which won an Academy Award for visual effects as well. The next big film to actually come through the department was Island at the Top of the World, and there were a tremendous amount of matte paintings and visual effects on that. From that point, we continued to work on Disney films through the 70s, including Escape to Witch Mountain, Return to Witch Mountain.
I didn't think I'd ever be happy until I met you.
Then Pete's Dragon in the late 70s was a very ambitious project, a musical, also a great deal of animation combined with live action. The visual effects departments stayed at Disney and remained there through the 80s, and in 1989 began work on Dick Tracy, which was certainly very significant in terms of a very unique look to a film, as well as use of matte paintings that probably hadn't been seen for quite a number of years.
It was one of the last pictures that featured glass matte paintings. The sheer volume of matte paintings and the way they were put together mechanically made Dick Tracy a real special picture. There were about 100 matte paintings used in Dick Tracy, and they were all put together the conventional way using optical printers and photochemical techniques. This is a great example of how a matte painting can be used to enhance a scene. If you look at this scene was shot on a stage at Universal. There's about 3 inches of water on this set, and some lighting effects back here in the back, and a practical set piece of a dock with Warren Beatty standing on the dock. This is the way the shot looked like in principal photography. Now the finished product, as we move down, the finished product, you'll see it's quite a different looking scene. We've added 2 matte paintings here and sandwiched them together between the live action to create this hopefully real looking cartoon world that Dick Tracy lives in. It was one of the last big studio pictures that was done using old-style photochemical effects. Right after the release of Dick Tracy, digital media came into its own. In the 90s, as digital technology developed and more software programs came along to fit the digital hardware, the advent of this technology allowed the visual effects teams to do more and more and imagine more and do more than they ever could before. This also included a little bit of a downside where the phrase was developed, they'll fix it in post. Well, what that means is the filmmakers sometimes got a little sloppy while they were shooting, knowing that with digital technology, a lot of ways to fix scenes were possible now.
This was a shot that we did for The Rookie. During the main title sequence, we noticed that one of the grips on the set had come out of this building and was interacting with one of the actresses, and he was not in costume, so it was necessary to remove him from this scene. Then I'll show you the scene in motion where here's the grip right there, and now he's off, and then no grip, and it just plays a little bit better.
Disney films are are very unique. You can recognize a Disney film through the 40s, the 50s, 60s, and even into the 70s. And I think the fact that there was a visual effects department, that there were optical printers, that there were matte painters, that there were people who were able to create worlds or help the filmmakers, the writers, the directors realize these visions. Even Love Bug. Now, you could go and photograph San Francisco, but it's not quite the same as doing a matte painting where everything is just a little bit more perfect, a little bit more fanciful. And that's the legacy of visual effects at Disney.
iWorks, and Walt created a legacy that I don't know that anybody can really live up to, but we certainly do strive to achieve the success and the diversity of the effects that and Walt first dreamed of.